Right. So, what we discussed in the last session, we discussed about what exactly property and casualty insurance is all about. And followed by this, we have even discussed about what are the different types of property and casualty insurances we have, like something like marine insurance, home insurance, right? So, property, right? So, commercial, personal lines, commercial lines, right? So, this is all something. Uh, Annuity, right? So this is also annuity insurance. This is all something which we have discussed. Now, when it comes to the role of a business analyst, what is that something we must be good with? This is something one need to be known with. As I already mentioned, repeating the same, property casualty is a domain which is large in size because there are a lot of insurance services which are involved. Either it can be a property insurance or it can be a casualty insurance or it can be uh, personal lines or it can be marine, commercial lines, all that. Understanding three different processes is required, three to four majorly, because there are many, especially from the property insurance point of view. But being into business analyst side, to have a more better scope as role of a property and casualty insurance, you need to understand three to four functionalities I'm writing here, or else I can call it as a business flows also. The first one, you must be knowing about the policy flow. That is point number one. As a BA, remember, right? Policy flow. Policy flow means how the policy generations, or it can be the process flows I'm talking about. Either it can be how the process of policy will be taken place. For example, right from the request raised by the person. So based on that, whatever the underwriting process will go on. So based on the underwriting process, issue of the policy document. Before that, what is the cost that they have to pay? I'm talking about annual premium, right? So premium calculation. Finally, a person will pay. This is where generally policy flows comes into picture. This is point number one. So once policy issued to the customer, either in a hard copy or in a soft copy, it's not only about the policies what we have issued. There are some policies which require some renewal to be made, auto renewal messages and sending messages to be made for the people in regular intervals. At the same time, some policies where you're required to make some cancellations. Right. So this is all something you need to know about the policy flow to make it very simple. How the policy flow works. This is something you will be required to know. You can ask me one thing, in what way it is related, because the process flow is already existed. So being a business analyst, what is that something I am doing over here? Okay, that I'll and that for that question I'll give you an answer later on. So understanding the policy flow is required right from the request which was raised by customer till issuance of policy. That something which you must be knowing. This is point number one, policy flow. Second, you must be knowing about the billing flow. This is required. How the billing flow happens. It can be of any billing. A person is paying premium first time, or is he paying or she is paying every year annual premiums, or is there any claim payments per day were made, right? So all these things are comes under the billing flow. Understanding how the billing transaction process will go on. That flow process you must be learning. You must know as a property casualty insurance domain from the BA perspective, you need to learn that. That is point number two. Point number three, you must be knowing about the claim flow, claims process flow, because you have already undergone healthcare training, right? So you have already told you the claim processing. So there are different steps. If you take claim processing and all, there are different steps are involved. If you take healthcare, provider will provide a necessary treatment to the patient. So before that, they see authorization. So whether eligibility will see, based on that, services will be provided. After that, claim request submission will be made. Subsequently, adjudication and payment. This is the flow if you see healthcare. But here, whereas when it comes to the claim flow, it was not the case because there is no provider or a payer concept. Okay. For example, a person has taken a four-wheeler vehicle, met with an accident, unfortunately. That person will raise a request to the insurance company stating that my car got damaged due to unfortunate situations and all. He'll explain the situation, what was happened, and what is the damage. So based on that, required investigation and background verification will be made by the insurance company, and they do the payment. Okay, the major difference you see over here, again, I'm repeating. If you're talking about healthcare claims, you're comparing to property and insurance claims and all. There are providers who will provide some medical services for a patient or for a person, for an individual. So claims forms will be submitted to the insurance company. So based on that, insurance company will pay. Prior to that authorization, either the eligibility verifications, everything will happen. This is the flow you see if you can see closely when you are following healthcare. That too, when it comes to the flow processes and all, there are different codes we use, something like 837, 835. These are the codes normally we use in the field of healthcare claims. You know that. But whereas when it comes to the property and casualty insurance, there are no specific codes as such. Nothing, no codes, nothing. A person, whoever is having a policy, this person can raise a request in different forms. There are different forms and all. In the different forms, that request will be raised. So verification will be made. Subsequently, payment will be paid. But it is again depending on what type of insurance a person has taken. Is it taken a full insurance or a half or a third party insurances? Third party insurance means person who is driving the car or a vehicle. If a person uh, been affected physically, whatever the medical expenses, right? So everything that's all comes under third party insurance we call. Someone met with an accident, right? So some other person got damaged due to that. This is all something comes under the third party insurance. So there is a concept which you can see the difference here in context to the claim flow. This is where major differences you see from healthcare to property casualty insurance. Because in property casualty insurance, we have different insurances, you know. Because the example which I have given you is relating to commercial or personal lines or commercial vehicles and all, right? Vehicles I'm talking about, right? So maybe assets are different. Assets got damaged due to fire accident or something. It can be something. Natural calamity, the process can be different. People who are involved may be the same, but the process can be involved. So the claim flow and claim process is something which you have to know, right? So this is also one of the key and important flow process. Being a business analyst, you must be knowing, right? So this is point number 3. Point number 4, underwriting process. This is important. We are talking about underwriting. Okay. We are talking about underwriting. Underwriting flow, it is required. Underwriting flow, nothing but the risk assessment. What kind of risk that is involved here, and how to assess the risk and all. What are the parameters that will be taken to assess the risk? So based on the report given by the underwriting team, whatever the subsequent transactions or subsequent activities will be considered accordingly. So you need to know about the underwriting flow. So these are the 4. One is about the policy flow. You must be knowing how the policy flow processes will be taken care of, etc. Nothing to do with application. Again, application level is different because what kind of applications we may be using some guideware, we may be using some Duck Creek, we may be using some Magisco, right? So different applications we have. So that's a different thing. But end of the day, if we are learning a property casualty insurance from the domain perspective, we must be knowing about the flow processes. One is about the policy flow, which insurance companies majorly do. Their business is to create new policies and renew the policies, right? So this is the major business they do. In connect to that, whatever the required financials flow process will happen. That's where generally billing comes into the picture. Third is about the claims. A person has taken a policy. Sometimes one day or other day, if it damaged happened and all, they request some amount to be reimbursed, right? So that's where claim processing comes under. To assess the whatever the risk which is involved in it and all, whatever the underwriting process we have, everything comes under underwriting. So this process flows, being a business analyst in property casualty insurance, you must be knowing. This is the first thing. Now, why do you require this? Because this is this, for example, this is your question, right? So Raj, I already the process flow I know, right? So business billing, claim life cycle, underwriting, this flow processes anyway, it was already there because the process flow is already there, right? So what is something which I'm doing as a business analyst? Because even though the flow processes, whatever I have explained you, may be the same for all the organizations. But when they are trying to implement or using some kind of applications or the business processes and all, they may require to make some changes in the existing one. If you can go back to the healthcare, the same point I told you, the same thing repetitive here. Irrespective of the domain you are talking about, either you are can from the healthcare domain, or it can be an insurance domain, or it can be a banking domain, financial services, capital markets. If there is any kind of changes in the business process flow you are identified, so what are the changes that were required to make? On what basis are we doing? Means on what basis you are doing this? This is you are doing based upon the business rule changes. Whatever the business rules we have, if there is any kind of changes in the business rules happens in the organization, in the particular organization, or else maybe through government mandates. For example, government has taken some decision on something where whichever the business we are doing, where for example in insurance sector, where in context to the services that they are giving to their customers and all. For example, government has taken some key decisions as part of policy decision I'm taking about. So when there is any kind of policy decision they have taken for the welfare of the people who are residing in that respective country, organizations has to make necessary changes in their processes, right? That's not a business process. That is a process which is directed by the government for the welfare of for the employees of the people there. So subsequent changes, subsequent amendments has to be made. So we require some kind of subject matter expert kind of person who should do that, because technical people cannot understand all these. Technical people cannot understand the business terminologies and technologies which are involved in this. Because technical people may be good at technology, right? So they can develop a logic for a particular flow. For example, policy flow. Logic can be implemented by writing some program. That can be done by them. That is something which they are experienced of. Testing people can test the level of code, the kind of quality of code which was done by the developers. That can be tested by the testing team. But who should instruct those changes? What are the changes that are required? Who should instruct? That is where generally the domain knowledge or subject matter expertise required for a business analyst. That's the reason why being a BA from the context of policy, property and casualty insurance, these are the major four flows. One is about the policy flow, second is a business flow, third is about the claim flow, followed by underwriting flow. These are all the major things which you must be knowing. So apart from that, of course, rating and all everything will be there. Rating means, for example, a person has raised a request to us regarding the policy issuance, right? So insurance is not a sales. Yesterday also I told you that insurance is nothing to do with sales. Insurance is a kind of a request which is raised by an individual to insure his property, to insure his life, to insure his vehicle or something like to an insurance company. Raise a request. So based on the risk which is involved in it, whatever the policies they have issued and all everything, that is the complete prerogative of an insurance company, right? So anywhere, right? So this is the same process. So in this process, when you're trying to understand about the flow processes as a BA, there are some changes, functional changes might require to make, right? So that's where generally the role of a BA, which you must be knowing. For example, rating configuration, as I given an example now. Person may raise a request based on the risk assessment. We have to give a certain amount of premium that is to be paid by that particular, for example, health insurance. health insurance person who has taken in the young age, the kind of premium, annual premium that he's supposed to pay will be less. When a person taken health insurance which is in the early, late stages or late ages of him or her, automatically based on the age, based on the other factors and all everything, so your premium will also be on the higher level. You know that, right? So the basic thing. This is a basic thing where minimum anybody will understand. That is where generally you need to understand the rating part. Rating means rating configurations and all will be done back in. That is not something relevant here, but and that much of it. But end of the day, rating structure. At the same time, not only rating, there are some people, middlemen, I can say, agencies, brokers will be there who will be introducing insurance products to their customers, because insurance company every time don't go to the customers, right? There are some brokers, there are some agents will be there for that insurance company. Whichever there is any new insurance product an insurance company has designed, has introduced, normally agents and brokers will take these to their customers, whoever they have an existing customers or new customers, they'll introduce it. This is the policy, this is the new product which is launched in the market, and these are the benefits. They will try to convince. If an individual or a company is convinced of it, automatically they will take the insurance. That's how generally. So for that, there is some amount of what we call commission will be paid by the insurance company. For every policy, there is some X amount of commission will be there. As far as the commission structure itself is concerned, uh, there are differences, because you cannot say every company will do that, right? So, for example, if even the same thing happen even in health insurance also, because even in health insurance also we have health agents, health insurance agents. Commissioning will be there, right? So commissioning can also be there. So commissioning, right? So commission will be paid based on the premium what they have paid, etc. All that. So under what conditions the commissioning structure will be calculated, not how to calculate. Okay, how to calculate it can be a different, but on what basis commissioning will be calculated, that sort of understanding is also required for business analyst. Okay, because there may be some changes in the rating percentage, or it can be a commissioning or something, like there may be some changes happens in between. Someone has to identify what generally that structure generally they follow. If you understand the right essence of it, so that it is easy for any business analyst to provide necessary suggestions and all everything to the, either for the business stakeholders or business people, or maybe for the technical people. It is easy for them to provide some inputs. So these are something which, being a analyst, we must be knowing as far as the property and casualty insurance itself is concerned. Apart from the skill set of a BA, right? So what exactly BA skill sets are all about, right? Either it can be knowledge area, something like business, understanding the requirements, right? Translating the requirements, understanding the objective, need, scope. These are all the common BA skill sets. Anyway, you know it. Hence, I am not explaining all these to you now. Anyway, because that is something which you have done even for healthcare domain, this thing also, right? So you have started and you are working on it. The same thing will be continued over here. The same legacy will be continued. Approach I'm talking about, but domain may be different. Here we are discussing about property and casualty insurance domain. The kind of project you are working on is completely relating to P&C perspective. Understanding about the structure of P&C insurance is always important. But how you have done that earlier and what approach we have followed, that process as a BA remains constant. That never changes. So this is the overall understanding as a role of an analyst when we are working on property insurance, property and casualty insurance is something which you must be good and familiar with. Understood? Clear?
Yes, clear, sir.